Welcome to my American History Notes, where I read the conclusions that I've drawn from studying American history, or some of them. Um, I will start with Dwight David Eisenhower's administration. And I know you're not going to agree with all my conclusions, and this is really just a surface survey. So you'll want to get in deeper. My hope is that you'll come to your own conclusions by studying American history, or part of what you are interested in yourself. So Dwight David Eisenhower was the 34th president of the United States, having served as commander of the tank training school at Camp Cold at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, between 1917 and 1918, as senior aide to General Douglas MacArthur, Army Chief of Staff, between 1932 to 35, as senior military assistant to General MacArthur, as military advisor to the Philippine government from 35 to 39, as chief of staff of the Third Army in 1941, as commander of U.S. forces in Europe for 1942, supreme commander of Allied expeditionary forces in Europe between 43 and 45, as chief of staff of the U.S. Army between 1945 to 48, as president of Columbia University between 48 and 50, and finally, Supreme Commander of NATO forces in Europe between 51 and 52. He had married Mamie Geneva Dowd in 1916. After Eisenhower was elected, he joined the Presbyterian Church, and after a morning communion service on the day of his inauguration, he wrote a short prayer, which he started off his swearing in ceremony with. He was the consummate, quote, middle of the roader domestically. He called his program Modern Republicanism, or Dynamic Conservatism, instituting a huge highway building program that gave us the interstate highway system. He stepped back from the radical do-gooder attitude of Teddy Roosevelt, but went further than the early presidents wanted to go with building roads and infrastructure, which, if you remember, they said was up to the states. He also increased the Social Security system and authorized the raising of the minimum wage to $1 an hour. In 1954, the Supreme Court, under his own appointee, Earl Warren, ruled that compulsory segregation in public schools separating black children from white was unconstitutional. In my childhood, even there were separate schools for even then were separate schools for black and white in Princess Anne, Maryland. Eisenhower, Republican or not, was hardly a conservative. He was for as radical a change as any liberal of his era. He sent federal troops, the 101st Airborne, to Arkansas to protect black students when the federal government forcibly integrated a high school in Little Rock in 1957. When Stalin died, Eisenhower called a summit meeting with the new leaders of Russia, France, and Great Britain, but was unable to alleviate Cold War tensions. The French finally lost to the communist Viet Minh at the Battle of Dien Bien Phu in May of 1954. Finally, the defeat of Vietnam was divided. Following the defeat, Vietnam was divided by the Geneva Accords. The First Indochina War was over, but the partition helped produce the Second Indochina War, or the Vietnam War, which began in 1957. We're going to stop there and continue with Eisenhower's administration next. And I look forward to talking to you again. I hope you will study on your own.